So I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Bhooshan Shukla, my guest today. Can you tell us what resilience is?
Handling success
Okay, yes.
and still being okay should also be included in the resilience.
And the son tells her, you know what I fear the most? Having a boring job.
It is lalayet panchavarshani dashavarshani tadayet prapte tu shodashe varshe putre mitram vadachare.
Yes, so it's not a good idea for parents to go to school and talk to the parents and say, these marks should be there. This is happening. And I think teachers are also just getting fed up and saying, fine, take the marks. I've heard of these things happening. So this does not help the child, basically.
But good you brought that up, because if you actually go to schools and talk to the teachers, which I have to do quite frequently because of the nature of my work, a lot of teachers actually are off sick on the parent-teacher day.
Oh, really? Hello and welcome to the Breathing Room. I'm Rita Date, your host. I'm a yoga and meditation coach and nutritionist. On this show, we talk about M&M, Mind, Nutrition, Movement, 3 pillars to live a long and healthy life. You'll find information backed by science and practical so you can use it in your everyday life. So I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Bhooshan Shukla, my guest today. He is a child and adolescent psychiatrist here in Pune, and he's helped thousands of kids, and they've been fortunate to have him on their path to mental health. And welcome, Bhooshan.
Thank you, Rita. It's a great pleasure being here.
So today we're talking about resilience. So let's define resilience. We're going to talk about resilience in kids, but can you tell us what resilience is?
So in simple terms, it would be ability to bounce back, because we all are going to face rough patches every now and then. And as the world becomes more unpredictable, there are going to be more rough patches. So coming back from difficulty, at least back to the same level, if possible, even better, is typically what is seen as resilience. But I would like to add one more thing to that, because most of the thinking about resilience is about adversity. I think you need a lot of qualities to handle good times as well, or the windfalls as well.
Okay.
So handling success
yes.
and still being okay should also be included in resilience.
That's a good point, because a lot of stars kids you hear, people who have everything kind of fall off the wagon. So yeah, that's a very good point. So I chose this topic because I hear that parents complain to me that kids they're mollycoddle their kids, and they feel it's just necessary. They can't let go. They need to be there at every step of the way. They're talking to the teachers. Even when they're graduating, they're talking to the professors. It doesn't stop. They're shielding their kids from any, they don't want their kids to be hurt. So what impact is this having on the kids?
So I think protecting your kids from hurt would very much be the part and parcel of parenting. That would be the core of parenting. If parents weren't doing that, then we wouldn't need parents, right? We could just come out of our eggs and be on our way. We wouldn't need parents at all. So the difficulty is where to draw that line. Where do you help kids, and when does the help actually become a handicap?
The balance, yeah.
And that is where the real difficulty is, because I think most people who are listening to this podcast who speak English belong to a socio-economic class where day-to-day struggles are pretty much over. And most of us have enough means to see our kids through education at least. We have a house for them, we have these kids really do not have huge challenges, and the real task of parenting now, I think, is creating a sensible challenge. We all understand that, right? That you need to do resistance training for your muscles. If you send an astronaut to space, they actually lose their muscle and calcium in their bone very rapidly because there is no gravity. So they need to do special exercises to maintain that calcium in their bones and their muscles to be strong, because otherwise if they're going to stay in space for extended period of time and come back to earth, they're going to have fractures just by standing up. So one needs resistance all the time. Without that, we
So
can't
on
grow.
the Maslow's chart, you're saying that a lot of the kids are in a higher level now. They have their needs met or more.
Yeah, the basic needs are definitely met.
Yeah.
They are definitely step 2 and beyond.
Right.
But that has its own problems. It's a zero gravity environment, and they're going to lose their muscle. They're going to not build up that calcium. So parents have to design things or arrange life in such a way, arrange their own role in such a way that kids are not excessively harmed, but are not excessively protected as well. We have to manage that golden mean, and I'm quite mindful of the difficulty of that while I say that, but that is our task.
So how do we do it? I mean, I know it's a very long answer, but like, explain to us how it can be done. I just have an example. A friend of mine, she said her son asked her, "Mom, what is your the most thing you fear the most?" And he said, not death or anything, something else. What do you fear the most? And she says, I don't know. I can't think of something like right now. And the son tells her, you know what I fear the most? Having a boring job. So, I mean, they have everything. Yeah. They're worried about having a boring job. They don't have to worry about feeding themselves. So that
quite true. So again, going back to Maslow, the first 1 or 2 levels are already cross. Parents have done it for them. So if we have to look at parents helping children build resilience, we'll have to look at components of resilience, because resilience is the final outcome of all these ingredients coming together. One part of that, and I definitely want to put that on the table right in the beginning, is genetics. Some of us are built to handle stress differently. They don't perceive that same situation in the same stressful way. The way some of us can sing better, some of us can bat better, some of us can count money better, some of us can take adversities better. So one component of that is definitely genetics. We don't know how much it is, but it's definitely there. Second is self-confidence, self-esteem. What do you think of yourself in terms of your abilities? That is very important component. Third part in that is their models. Because there are only 2 ways humans learn. One is by modeling, and second is by experimenting. There is no third way to learn anything at all. So their role models are very important. People around them are very important. And fourth is actual experience of failing. What happens when they fail, and how system around them responds to that failure, so-called failure. And that all decides your resilience. All these things go in together and make that resilience.
Yeah, so it's not a good idea for parents to go to school and talk to the parents and say, these marks should be there. This is happening. And I think teachers are also just getting fed up and saying, fine, take the marks. I've heard of these things happening. So this does not help the child, basically.
But good you brought that up, because if you actually go to schools and talk to the teachers, which I have to do quite frequently because of the nature of my work, a lot of teachers actually are off sick on the parent-teacher day.
Oh, really?
Because many times you get these answers, oh, that particular subject teacher is not here today, she's unwell. I'm just standing in for her, so take these points and then you can talk to her later. Because they dread meeting parents.
Oh.
And let's look at the other part of reality as well. The middle class parents are much better off than the teachers. Teachers actually belong to a slightly different socioeconomic strata. In the CBSE, ICSE schools, particularly in our part of India. And teachers get bullied by parents.
Oh.
People who love to work with children, who are trained to work with children, who have chosen this profession as their life's calling, And people who have no other qualification other than having a kid and having money to pay for the school, bullying those teachers, I don't think that is okay.
No, it isn't. Definitely not.
So this is the difference. That's why lots of schools have stopped giving papers home, because then parents will go through that and come back and fight. And all those things that you mentioned. So what is the message that is going to the child? That your parents are protecting you. They're always there. No, they can't be. And then invariably every child like Siddharth Gautam encounters world.
Finally, yes.
Yeah. And then they are like an egg thrown at a wall. It just shatters. Because there are things your parents can't control anymore. And eventually you will reach that stage. Some will reach it probably in 3rd standard itself, and some will probably get there by 7th. But nobody escapes that. And then what happens?
I just want to bring in some ancient wisdom. We were talking offline, the Sanskrit saying of the child development. Can you say that, please?
Oh, the old saying about what the stages of development.
Yes.
It is lalayet panchavarshani dashavarshani tadayet prapte tu shodashe varshe putre mitram vadacharet. So it is for first 5 years, pamper your children. For next 10, you discipline them. Tadan is, though if you translate it literally, it's beating, but it's essentially discipline.
Right.
And once the child is about 16 years old, you treat them like they are your friends, contemporaries. But we also must remember that this comes from a time when people were already married by the time they were 16.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So their 16 and our 16 is not the same. Their 5 and our 5 is not the same. Because we are talking about times where infant mortality was so high that almost 2/3 of children, or probably at least half the children, didn't survive till 5 years of age. So we live in much better times.
Better times.
But the essence is that discipline is part of life, and that's a large part of your childhood.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up. Yeah, you need to have discipline.
Absolutely. And discipline is essentially curbing your impulses. You're a yoga teacher, you know about Chitta Vritti Nirodh. Right? What we want to do, what we desire to do, and what we need to do are many times very different things. And for a child, they can be diametrically opposite. Here is my grandmother who has kept a nice cookie there for me, but I'm supposed to eat that only after I have finished my homework. And how, as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 5-year-old, how do I ignore that cookie there and stay focused on my homework and only later get to it? My desire and my job are taking me in 2 different directions. And learning to handle that is discipline. Because that is essentially self-discipline. Discipline is an incomplete word. The whole world is self-discipline.
Right, teaching them
and helping your children to learn that is something very important.
Yeah. So talking about age, I know that times were different. At what age do we protect our children and then kind of let go? Like maybe, like they've said 5, and obviously we're in the beginning stages, we're more worried about physical harm and physical, making sure they're healthy, etc., etc. I mean, that continues, but then do we need to pay more attention to other aspects like their mental health, and how do we do that?
I believe that it's a continuum. The very act of being born, the very first thing that your mother needs to do for you the moment you are born is cut the cord. We have 0 guarantees that this baby is going to breathe. But the cord needs to be cut. Because if the cord is not cut, the baby is never going to breathe. So the very first experience of life is taking risk. And I don't think we should ever forget that.
Wow, I didn't think of it that way. But yes, that's true.
People think that when they are very young, we need to really take care of them. No. That is when your detachment has to start. Babies cry, and it is okay for them to cry for some time. Babies roll over. They need to roll over. You can't bubble wrap them all the time. They need to experience hunger, and then they need to realize the satisfaction of eating something and that hunger going away. if we are going to literally drip feed the baby, which is what a lot of people do now,
They do?
then how is the baby even going to learn things? So it has to start, because in parents' mind, once you see the child as something that is extremely vulnerable and you start doing everything for them with this idea that no harm, it's not harm. We are even talking about negative experiences. My child should not feel any negative emotion. Parents mistaking that for harm is a big mistake for our generation. That they need to experience negativity, they need to experience the negative emotions and learn to hold them. If that is not started, it is never going to happen, because in your mind they are always going to be a baby. You can be 80-year-old, they can be 50-year-old, and you will still say my baby. It just doesn't change. I mean, it's great to have parents around as long as you are there, but the fact still remains that at some point of time you need to have enough ability to contain those negative emotions and not need parents to do that for you.
So I always thought in the Indian school system, both my kids went to regular SSC schools, being 60, 70 in a class, doesn't that automatically make you resilient? Like, how is that a good thing, or what do you think?
So having 80 kids in a classroom at that age is obviously not a good thing. But it's not a disaster either. That is important to remember, that what you do with that is something very important. Because I think that brings us to the most important part of children and resilience is friends. Your friends are your alter egos, your alter brains, alter experiences. So you need to be with other kids, preferably from varied classes, varied backgrounds, to know what life is really like outside family. More and more people are now putting their kids in these very manicured, tiny slivers of population. That your kid goes to IB school, you're already in 0.01% of the population. All the experiences that you see there are from that slice of life. Your school fees decides which class is going to be there. We don't have free education. I mean, government says there is, but it practically doesn't exist. So children get slaughtered that way, and they have no experience of that. The kind of school that your kids went to, I went to, my kids went to, had children from very different stratas being together. And that realization itself is very important, that life is varied. And these are all experiences, and we all are still together, and we are tied together, and we need to handle this together. That is very important. It does not matter how rich or poor you are, that teacher is still going to discipline all of us in pretty much the same way. And that feeling is important, that experience is important. By putting children into those curated classes, I think we are creating a monoculture. And we know that monocultures get wiped away with a single organism. We almost experienced that in COVID, didn't we?
Yeah, wow. So even though you think you're doing something, you might be helping your child by sending them to a school like that or placing them in an environment like that, it may not be a good thing.
Not at all.
Okay.
Because, and now this is going to sound very contrarian, most people try to put their kid one level above what they can afford. They go out of their way to afford better school education. It needs to be the other way around. You need to put them one level below or two levels below.
Wow. Okay.
Because otherwise, as it is, life is getting more and more easy for these children. The only way they are going to actually experience the real world is in school now. And if you choose it, if you keep choosing above all the time, you are shielding them from even more difficult world.
It's not something to aspire for, or like I'm just giving a counter argument.
Yeah.
When you do put your kids in a better school, maybe they can, something they're aspiring for, maybe. Is that a possibility, or is it a good thing? I mean, you're saying it's not a good thing, but how come? Why not?
Because the very fact that, or this belief that a better school, so-called better school, let's call them more expensive schools, will actually put you on a different path of life is not really true. If you track the path of teachers who teach them, they didn't go to the same school. People aspire for grade A universities or Ivy League universities. Where do the professors come from? Did they go to Ivy League universities all the way? Ivy League schools all the way? Most of them didn't. In fact, most of the successful people in the world are not there because of their education in universities. They are there because they have something different. They are offering something different to the world. So this whole illusion of school creating a foundation is grossly overrated in my opinion. Particularly at this time in 21st century where education is pretty much becoming irrelevant. The kid going to school today, kid joining nursery today, will probably have no use of their 12th standard and 10th standard marks, forget degrees.
Not the marks, but what they learn.
But where are they learning here? You look at the top-notch schools, the so-called top-notch schools, everything is done for kids by teachers, by parents, by tuitions. The best school is where kids don't need to go to tuitions.
Are there any schools left?
Are there any parents left like that? Let's ask it that way. Because all the schools keep saying that. Do parents listen?
Yeah.
So then the learning is happening at school. If your kid needs to go to a tuition class, then learning is not happening there. How many schools would pass that level?
Very, very few. Where do we look for these schools?
Currently, the only schools that do that are boarding schools.
Oh, right. Yeah, because you can't go out. You have to be there.
Yeah.
How do we get teachers to be paid more? This is kind of off topic. We don't have to include it even in this thing, but.
So I remember when my daughter's school had put the fee hike for Parent-Teacher Association, and I was all for that. I said, you have to tell us, you have to guarantee us that 80% of the extra money that you're getting will be going towards teachers' salaries. And the discussion ended there.
Yeah, that's a sad thing. Getting back to the topic. So are there any daily habits or routines you suggest parents inculcate in their children?
It has to be a daily habit. Unless this is part of your daily life, you cannot suddenly inject resilience at one point of time. Because only medicines are injected. Health is not injected. Health needs to be developed. So it starts fairly early that you do your things. Being able to manage your day-to-day stuff is one of the most important things. A simple test would be, if the cook or the cleaner doesn't turn up, if the driver doesn't turn up for work, can you manage without them at least for one day? Without, of course, ordering from Swiggy and Zomato. That would be the starting point.
Right.
Doing stuff by ourselves, doing our life stuff by ourselves, daily stuff by ourselves is the most important thing. We all talk about Finnish education and Japanese education and this and that. And Japanese kids clean their school and toilets.
Yes, yeah.
How many children in middle class upwards even know how a toilet is cleaned? What stuff goes in there? How do you use that brush? So it has to, because unless you are confident of looking after yourself, resilience is not going to be there. Then even your cleaning staff not turning up for one day becomes a stress that shatters you.
It shatters many women for sure, but
well, it shatters the whole household.
Yeah.
So this is what we are looking at, that kids doing their own thing, that would be first. Second would be they studying on their own. Your kids are going to a school and you are educated parent, you at least have 12th standard level of education. You should be able to sit with the kids and help them study.
You should or should not?
You should.
You should.
You should.
It's like taking their studies?
Yeah. Or just being, if you can't take, being there,
just
helping
being there.
them.
Making
being like a paperweight.
But how do working parents do this?
Well, there is still time available.
In the evenings. Yeah,
the evenings are there. Child can be on your video call that I'm studying and you are at your work. If I need anything, I'm just going to ping you. Why not?
Yeah.
Kids study like that nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Then why not? That is something that we have to look at. See, let me take a small detour here. How does a child feel confident in his or her own abilities? Because that is the most important part. Unless you have that, you will not have the ability to take a knock and stand back again. Say a child gets 95% in a certain exam, and we routinely see that children are not happy with those marks. The real reason is not my friend got 96%. The real reason is the child knows that these are not my marks. I go to a specific school, I attend so many tuitions, my parents sit down with me and actually get these things done over and over again. My mother gets up early in the morning, packs the dabba for me, helps me in my school projects. My father gets these printouts from XYZ places, and that is how I get my project marks. I don't even have to do my project. My parents do it for me. So those 95%, I probably have earned only 1 or 2% of that. Remaining 93% is earned by the system. How is the child going to feel happy with 95%? And the answer is that even with 100%, they are going to feel exactly the same terrible thing.
But I think it becomes a habit. They're get used to it. That's
exactly.
What,
exactly.
What the
so on one
is.
hand, we are not giving them any skills to score well, and on the other hand, the scores are going up. So we are actually setting them up for a major showdown with life.
Yeah. Because in the end, they have to do everything alone. That's why this whole thing about adulting is happening, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen till like 30 these days. Kids are not just not wanting to grow up because they know how hard it is. So yeah. So this all makes
stepping
a difference.
back.
Yeah.
Stepping back, staying at a safe distance, being available for help when the help is asked, because that is also a skill.
Knowing to when to ask.
Recognizing that I need help, knowing whom to ask for help, how to ask for help, how much help is enough. All of these skills need to be learned. Because we teach kids to be by themselves. That whole world is your competition. Don't tell this to your friend. He'll get more marks than you, etc. Till the end of education. And then we spend millions of dollars teaching workers how to become a better team member. So we train them one way, and then we want to train them the other way. This is what we are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's. I never thought of it that way. That is so true.
Because companies are spending literally millions of dollars
how to make teamwork,
undoing the school education. What reflexes they have developed there.
Yeah, because it's kind of like everyone's out for themselves.
Exactly.
Right.
And that
and you have to be in that system.
Yeah. And that brings us to that point about future. If you're hopeful about your future, you would want to bounce back. That hope is very important, because whatever shit happened to me right now, the future can still be better. But most of the parents all the time tell their kids that the world is a terrible bad place. You go out there and you'll be shred to pieces. That's how terrible it is.
Really?
But that's why we want to do all these things for you, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's okay.
That world is dangerous. World is bad. Nobody is going to do the stuff for you that your parents did. If we are constantly going to tell them that it's a terrible thing out there, it's a ruthless, dangerous place out there, they will be scared, isn't it? They will not reach out to the world. They are not going to embrace the world. Whereas the fact is that we all know that everything about the world is continuously getting better. Our living standards are improving, our longevity is improving, our health is getting better, we are getting better jobs, getting better clothes, we are getting better treatments, we are getting better food. Literally everything is getting better if you look at the bigger picture.
Yes.
Than how the world was just 100 years ago. But we keep telling children that, oh, it's going to be terrible out there.
So do you find this in your, I mean, obviously you know this, in your practice, when people are not resilient, what happens? Like, do they?
Well, I would say that a large part of practice, because people that I meet in my practice is a very biased sample. It's a small fraction of the entire society. There are millions and millions of people out there slugging it out every day, coming on top of difficulties and living very good life. Children and families that I see are obviously in deep trouble, and they have seen very difficult times, or the way their body and mind has reacted to it is very difficult. But resilience is a very big part of that. Because many times, see, people mock today's kids now, right? They say, oh, you get depressed at the drop of a hat. Is it really their fault? Did they control the world in which they have grown up? Then we can't really blame them for that. That you had one heartbreak and here you are becoming suicidal. I wouldn't put that blame on the kid at all. I mean, you can't say that a 13-year-old made this world or created these habits for themselves.
Yes, that's not their fault. So when should somebody see in their kid that they may need extra help? What are the things they should look for?
So how much should you, on one hand we are saying that stress is part of life, we need to expose them to more stress, is going to hurt, there are going to be a lot of negative emotions when you face stress, and we still have to help the kids get better, be on top of that and come out well. So the real question is, when do we know that we are doing too much, or whatever is happening to the kid is not okay and this needs professional help? There are some simple parameters for that. One is, you know your kid, you know their patterns, and when you see sudden change in their eating patterns, in their sleep patterns,
physical things, yes,
their energy level, their mood, if it looks very off, talk to your family doctor. Get that is your first port of call. Children who self-harm, that's a very clear cry for help. There's something seriously wrong there. Children who are persistently in negative moods, children who are persistently sad, because that's not how a child is supposed to be, right?
Right.
Children are supposed to be more happy, more cheerful, more optimistic. So a child who's persistently pessimistic, persistently sad, persistently very scared, that is the time you get professional help. So when you see child being consumed by one emotion or one bunch of emotions, persistently negative emotions, then there is a reason to worry, and that is the time to get professional help.
Okay. So Bhooshan, to wrap it up, resilience. 3 things parents should do. Tell us the 3 top things.
Step back, watch from a distance, and don't give help unless specifically asked for.
Okay, you got that? Those 3 things, very important. Any other message you'd like to give to the audience?
I think the same message that parents should be giving to their kids, that you're all right, the world is a great place, brilliant future awaits you, we are all in it together, let's do it.
I love that. Amazing end. Dr. Bhooshan Shukla, where can people find you?
People can find me on social media as Doc Bhooshan on Twitter, now X. Same handle for Instagram.
Okay, I'll put that in the show notes. Yeah. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate your time and you coming here.
Thank you for a lovely conversation.
Yeah. Hey! Hello everyone, and welcome to the Breathing Room. 3 pillars of a long and healthy life. I'm Rita Date, your host. Just a second. Okay. Yoga coach and meditation. I'm sorry. That sandwich was disgusting. Whatever, both of them. The first one was okay, that bread. The second one was... I just don't like that sauce. Okay. Ready?
Ready.
Hello and welcome to the Breathing Room. I'm Rita Date, your host. I'm a yoga and meditation coach and nutritionist. And on this show, we talk about M&M, Mind, Nutrition, Movement. 3 important pillars to lead a long and healthy life. Today, we're going to have... Okay, I'm sorry. What's my last sentence? Long and healthy life. One sec. Long and healthy life. On this show, We have practical information, all backed by science. On this show, we have information that is backed by science. You can delete all the other stuff. I'm sorry.